Hello and welcome back to Buckle Up. I'm Harry King and once again I'm filming another Ford Focus. In fact, it's a Mk3 Ford Focus, a facelift model to be specific, and we'll start as always at the front. Please excuse the vlog style filming. I am sans cameraman today. So we see specifically on the facelift model you have the badge there on the leading edge of the bonnet rather than down on the grille. This is the sort of Aston Martin styly that they did for a little bit. I think this is probably one of the best grille designs that Ford have had in recent years. Just standard headlights. You do get fog lights, you get this sort of front splittery thing, and these are all slightly sporty accoutrements because this is a ST line. But do not be deceived, Ford have gone down the dark path following Audi and BMW, and this is actually a 1.5 litre diesel, but it does look quite good. It's got 17-inch rims. They're sort of colour matched to the car. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not. Like, you've got these facelift rear lights, which are quite good. I like them, they're quite sleek, but you do miss out, unfortunately. The old rear lights used to line up here and make a nice integrated line on the rear filler cap. These ones don't, but I think the overall design of the lights are better. So I think my preference would be for the facelift model rather than the earlier one. I think the improvements did work for this. You've also got this nice little rear spoiler, and it is actually... you know, it looks more like a real spoiler. It's not just like a little deck lid thing like you got in the Mk2. That's quite nice, looks quite sporty. And then you've got a boot, of course. Now, this is actually one of the smallest boots in class at the time this vehicle came out, and it is just a big box. You've got a strap on this side and like an umbrella holder over here, but there's nothing else really. There's no 12-volt socket, there's no tie-down points, and then you think you've got a false floor, and you kind of do, but mostly under here it's your space saver spare tyre. Your jack and everything is held under the wheel, and then you've got these sort of shallow trays around the rest of the boot, where you can put, I don't know, naan breads or something. But yeah, otherwise it's quite a basic boot space. The seats do fold down though, so actually, I'm going to show you how that works because it's slightly odd for this age of vehicle. Hello there. So by this point in time, most rear seats just folded over sort of like that. You had your Honda with the magic seats and all that stuff, but this has sort of something that was maybe more common in the previous generation and was really the latest thing. But by the time this car came out, people didn't do this anymore, the liftable seat bases. And then you push the button and that side goes down, you push it past, and then you've got a continuous load space, not quite flat. I like this system though. I think cars should go back to this because, one, it makes it quite easy to make this a smooth load space, but two, it gives you this sort of separation between whatever your long load is and the backs of the driver's chairs. It's, you know, a sort of semi-bulkhead. I think that's quite a good idea, personally. And people claim it's faffy, but it just isn't. I mean, let's just go over that again on the basis of, oh, it's faffy. Oh no. How am I going to manage this? Look, I've had to lift a thing and push a button, and then wet so much faff. So as you can see, there's a decent amount of space back here for an adult. I've got decent knee room, though this seat is slightly moved forwards. Decent headroom as well, I can actually sit up straight. The middle seat is slightly raised and you've got quite a large transmission tunnel. You've got seat back pockets, you've got door pockets, keep fit windows, just like the good old days. Otherwise pretty sparse. There's nothing here, there's no 12-volt socket in the centre or anything, and there's not even a centre armrest. You do though get Isofix fitted as standard. On the previous generation it was a dealer fit option. Ford were one of the last companies to adopt Isofix, but on this it comes as standard, so if you're getting one and you have kids, you will have Isofix. Important note. To the front. As you move through the vehicle, it seems things do get better. So sparse boot, acceptable rear seats, but here in the front actually, surprisingly nice. You get a 8-inch infotainment display on all but the basest of models. It's Ford's Mk3 system. You get physical HVAC controls, and then on the steering wheel you've got some attempt at leather, but it's kind of obviously not leather. It's nice and soft to the touch though, and the dashboard itself is nice and soft to the touch. A lot of people complain about the hardness of the plastic on the doors, but I think it's important to note that the doors themselves feel incredibly sturdy. So yes, the plastic is harder up there, but actually all over this cabin there's a sort of sense of sturdiness. There's just a couple of trim pieces that are maybe slightly lacking in quality, but overall I think this is quite a good level for the type of car this is. I quite like this. In the middle you get this sort of modular cup holder setup, so you can press down these dividers to make your cup holders various sizes, and then also you've got a sort of a thing that you can move back and make it even deeper, and you've got a sort of hidden cubby under there, which is quite nice. I quite like that. I'm a fan of that. And of course you can hide away the whole thing if you don't want to see it anymore. You've also got your traditional little storage space there and a USB port. You also have your 12-volt socket as well, and you've got a center console, but it is quite small. You do have another USB port and a 12-volt socket in there as well though, which is quite good. So you've got two 12 volts and two USBs up front. This is a 10-year-old design of car now, so that's quite impressive. Other storage, there's a nice large glove box, and you've got big door pockets as well. In terms of seating position, it's very good. I'm able to get right down in the car, which I quite like in a hatchback. I like sitting nice and low. It's all manual adjustment, but you do have lumbar adjustment on here as well, on this model. And there's lots of adjustment in the steering wheel, up and down, in and out, plenty. And I'm able to get it in my ideal driving position for everything. So, top marks there, Ford. I think everything else I need to tell you, though, I'll tell you on the drive. Okay, so driving the Mk3 Ford Focus, and initial impressions, this car feels a lot more solid and sturdy than I was expecting. Having owned a Mk2, it was a nice car, but it felt like a sort of run-of-the-mill family hatchback. This feels, I don't know, just sort of reassuringly hefty. And it's not a heavy car. It's heavier than the Mk2, but it's not a heavy car, but everything just feels sturdy. I don't know how else to really put it. The steering is nice and weighty. There's a lot of feedback through the wheel as well. This is really living up to the idea that Ford builds the most fun driving normal cars, as it were. You've got fully independent rear suspension, which helps with that, of course. But also the pedals are really well judged. They're spaced nicely for just standard driving. I wouldn't want to heel and toe in it really that much, but it would be possible. And just the clutch is just lovely, and the gear change. A car like this, a family hatchback, has no right to have such a nice gear change. None at all. And it's only a 120 horsepower diesel engine, but you know what? It feels, it's got torque, hasn't it? It's got a lot of torque as a diesel, and that helps it feel urgent. There's a decent amount of visibility. There's quite large C-pillars, which do get in the way, but everywhere else you've got good visibility. The mirrors have that little hall of mirrors glass at the edge of it, which means you get quite wide visibility with quite small mirrors. And the thing I'm really loving right now is the wipers do that. They fold out from each other, which means they actually cover the whole of the windscreen while they're wiping. I think the thing is, I'd always heard that the Mk3 Focus was sort of maybe the low point. The Mk1 was revolutionary. It came out, got rid of the Escort's old stodgy image of flimsiness and beigeness, and came out with this exciting family car, and it was all, oh, look at me, and I've got exciting air vents and all of that. And then the Mk2 came out, and yeah, it was a bit more boring to look at, but it was a really solid, really good car, and it held on to the really important things, the joy of driving. And I'd always heard that this lost out some of that compared to the other two, and it's not quite as tossable because it's not as light, but it really hangs on in the corners in a way you would not expect a car like this to. You can really really push it hard if you want to, and get a lot of joy out of it in doing so. So I feel like the criticisms leveled at this of not being a fun driver's car or as fun as the others, I'm not sure is entirely fair. It blows the Golf out of the water on driving enjoyment, that's for sure. In terms of the technology on this car, it was available with cruise control and with auto park, which is the big thing that they put on all of the tester cars back in the day. This car though is spec'd like a normal person would spec their car. So manual lights, manual wipers, no cruise control. There is no Android Auto or Apple CarPlay on this infotainment system. This really does it just feels wonderful to drive. Let's pivot in here. Just glides along the road, lovely. And just, it's so good. And you get a sense exactly of what's going on under the car. Ford, how do you do this? How were they making this at the same time they were making the EcoSport, which is one of the most dreary, pointless cars ever to have existed? Yet they got this so right. I can see why so many people bought one. It is excellent. From a driver's perspective, I should state that very clearly. I'm talking specifically from a driver's perspective. The interior space isn't as good as the other cars in class. The boot space isn't as good as other cars in class. It doesn't do anything that intelligently. It does some things in a slightly antiquated way, a way I prefer, but perhaps I'm just old-fashioned. But from the driver's seat on a B road, I can't think of any other family hatchback I'd rather be in than just a Boggo Ford Focus. I think I've covered everything, but we should go back into a conclusion. But yeah, I think you could probably guess where this is going, can't you? Okay guys, so I'm going to wrap the video up now. I'm going to do it in the car because it is still raining just a little bit. But yeah, Mk3 Ford Focus, well, from a driver's perspective, this is the car to get. If you've got around 10 grand to spend and you need to get a family hatchback, go and buy one of these. I'd just do it. I mean, you're not going to get a driving experience as good as this in a car like this for that money anywhere else. You're just not. If you need boot space or rear passenger space, that's priority. Maybe look elsewhere. Maybe look at a Golf, a Mark 6, 7 Golf, or a Kia Ceed, something like that. But if you care about driving, and I suspect you do, since you're watching us, this is the car to go and get. Thumbs up from me. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Please comment anything you have to say about the video, anything you have to say about Ford Foci, and like, and most importantly, go and subscribe. Go and check out our description. We've got the links for all of our social medias and our store where you can buy our merch, and also our Patreon, or you can become a channel member if you'd like to support us that way. Really, anything is appreciated. And yes, I'll see you next time.